first of all, thank you for having me here to speak to you all today. It's a real honor to be invited back in this capacity to share what I hope will be some helpful thoughts as you move into the next phases of your lives. I'd like to start by congratulating you all on the huge achievement of graduating from Warwick. You've worked incredibly hard to get here. You've inevitably faced some challenges along the way, and you've learned a lot about yourselves. You deserve to take stock of everything you've achieved and really enjoy the celebration with your families and friends. Now, for some of you, it might feel quite strange to be leaving somewhere that you've spent the last few years. I know I definitely felt that way. I loved my time here. I threw myself into the student societies, made lifelong friends, learned an immense amount, and took advantage of opportunities like a summer school in Beijing and studying abroad in Berlin. But I was facing a bit of an internal conflict about what to do with my life. I'm not a big fan of uncertainty. I'm one of those people who likes a sense of control, of having a plan and feeling that that plan is going to work out. I don't think I'm alone in this. But I'm also a bit of a contradiction. There's an equally loud part of me that likes spontaneity, grasping opportunities, and seeing where life takes me. It can be challenging sometimes to reconcile the two. To give you some context, I come from a family of doctors, where the career path is very structured and clear. You go to medical school, get a foundation job, then you choose a specialty or train to be a GP. If you're an academic like my husband, you go to university, do a PhD, then maybe a postdoc, before you find a permanent faculty position and climb up the academic ladder. It would have made a lot of sense for me to choose something like that. But the path I've chosen has always been much less certain, and I found that exciting, but the planner in me finds it quite anxiety-inducing. When I studied PPE here, like many of you, I wanted to keep my options open, try things, and see where I landed. I've been doing that ever since, and it's worked out pretty well. Back in 2013, when I was sitting where you are now, I only knew that my next step was going to be a master's in Switzerland. Beyond that, I had no idea what I was going to do. The planner part of me was convinced that I needed to specialize in something. Would it be labor policy or international trade? That's not quite how it turned out. I realized that what I had specialized in was critical thinking and analytical skills. And it was a chance project whilst I was working in New Zealand that set me on the path I've now found myself on. The project introduced me to the potential of data to transform how policy is made. When I moved back to the UK, I applied, as I've done before, for a bunch of different jobs related to data and policy, and ended up getting a job at a newly established Institute for Data Science, the Alan Turing Institute, where I was working with academics and policymakers to use data better. This then set me on the path to my work in AI policy, which wasn't on my radar at all when I graduated from Warwick or even from my master's. Since then, I've tackled AI policy challenges from a competition, consumer, and data protection perspective. I was even headhunted by a consultancy to work with tech company clients, although the promise of helping these tech giants implement responsible AI didn't materialize in that job, and I ended up doing PR and reputation management, which didn't suit me at all. I lasted 8 months. But the right thing was just around the corner, and I'm so glad I followed my instinct to change jobs. The key thing I try to figure out is, what is the next step? Does that next step align with my values of seeking social justice and protecting people's rights? That seems to satisfy both my spontaneous and planner sides. You don't need to have everything mapped out if that doesn't work for you. And you can really only ever take the information that you have available to you at the time and figure out your next step, because life isn't certain, no matter how much we might want it to be. The final thought I'd like to leave you with is this. Do something with your life that you find meaningful and aligns with your values. Use those highly intelligent brains of yours to apply the critical thinking skills you've learned here. Trust me, in the age of AI, those critical thinking skills will be essential. Thank you.